A jury has found Matthew Tilley guilty of the 1993 stabbing murder of Suzanne Pohl in one of South Australia's most enduring cold cases. Ms Pohl's family spoke of their relief at the finding outside court.
The discovery of Sherry Black's body in a family bookstore seemed like the end of the line for her family.
A man has been charged with the death of a 6-year-old who vanished from his neighbourhood in New York 3 decades ago. The 1979 disappearance of Aiton Pates was so shocking, he became a symbol for growing fears for the sake of children playing outside the home. North America correspondent Craig McMurtry reports.
But it was just the beginning of a chilling investigation.
It's been 45 years since a delivery man found Janet Taylor's body dumped on the side of a road west of Interstate 280 near Stanford University. She was 21 years old and the daughter of Stanford Athletics director Chuck Taylor. Tonight, San Mateo County investigators say John Getrew is the guy who strangled Janet in 1974. The key to finding him more than 40 years later? Technology.
Blood, fingerprints, and a shocking genetic breakthrough would soon reveal a killer hiding in plain sight. But with no immediate leads and the case going cold, would Sherry's murderer ever be caught? Stay with us as we unravel this spine-tingling case and reveal how cutting-edge technology cracked the case wide open. Don't miss out. This is a story you won't believe. Discovery: Earl Black returns home from work to find his wife, Sherry, was supposed to be at their family-owned bookstore. He notices her car parked in its usual spot and assumes she's home. But as he walks into the bookstore, he calls out her name, Sherry, and hears no response. The silence is unsettling. He begins to search the shop, and as he moves toward the back, he sees a closed door. Earl notices something strange. The door is shut, but there's blood. A chill runs through him, and instinctively, he opens the door. The scene in front of him is beyond anything he could have imagined. There, lying motionless on the floor, was his beloved wife. Sherry, the woman he loved, was gone. Her body was still, and she wasn't breathing. What struck Earl the hardest was the sight of scissors protruding from her belly. The shock of finding her like that was something Earl knew he would never forget. How do you forget something like this? Earl later reflected, his voice heavy with grief. Finding his wife in such a state left him with a gut-wrenching sense of helplessness and horror. The reality of the situation began to sink in slowly, but the sight was so overwhelming that it felt unreal. In that moment, Earl knew something unspeakable had happened. He couldn't believe what he had just found. His own wife, murdered in the back room of their family bookstore. Crime scene: the horrifying discovery of Sherry's body sends Earl into a daze. He immediately calls the authorities, and soon, a team of investigators arrives at the scene. Among them is Lieutenant Pender, who takes charge of the investigation. At the time, Pender is overseeing the crime scene, despite being in the middle of tactical training when he received the call. As he walks into the bookstore, he's struck by the sheer chaos of the place. It's a small bookstore, yet it feels like a labyrinth with books scattered everywhere. The back room, where Sherry was found, is where the crime took place. The scene is grisly, and it's clear to Pender that something violent occurred here. The body is discovered, lying on the floor, clearly deceased. It's a chilling moment for everyone on the scene, as Sherry's death was nothing short of violent. The violent nature of the murder is unmistakable, and Pender immediately recognizes that this is a homicide. The police team begins their careful work, processing the crime scene for any evidence that could help identify the killer. Despite the overwhelming evidence of blood and violence, the identity of the perpetrator remains a mystery. Detective Pender and his team are left with more questions than answers. The question that hangs in the air is clear: who could have done this to Sherry Black? Clues left behind. As the crime scene investigators continue their work, they begin to piece together the details of the brutal murder. The back room, where Sherry was found, shows signs of a struggle. The blood splatters on the floor and walls make it clear that there was a violent confrontation before her death. With all the blood, the investigators hold on to hope that the killer's blood might also be found at the scene. It's a crucial lead that could help connect the killer to the crime. The team also begins to collect other potential evidence, hoping for a breakthrough. Among the blood stains, they locate a partial fingerprint and a palm print, which offer a small glimmer of hope. For the investigators, finding these prints feels like a step in the right direction. Just like DNA, fingerprints and palm prints are unique to each individual, offering a critical piece of evidence that could point them toward the killer. Despite their optimism, the team knows that these clues alone may not be enough to solve the case. They gather the prints and blood samples, preparing to send them off for analysis, but the uncertainty of the investigation lingers. Would these clues be enough to uncover the identity of Sherry's killer, or would they lead to another dead end? The search for answers continues, but the pressure is mounting. Investigation stalls despite the promising clues found at the crime scene. The investigation begins to stall. The blood and fingerprints collected from the scene are sent for analysis, but when the results come back, they offer no immediate breakthroughs. The DNA from the suspect doesn't match anything in the CODIS database, which houses the genetic profiles of known criminals. Similarly, the fingerprints and palm prints gathered at the scene yield no matches. Detective Pender, initially hopeful that they had something concrete to work with, feels a deep sense of disappointment. The absence of a match leaves them with little to go on, and the case begins to grow cold. The investigators are left with the haunting thought that they might never uncover the truth behind Sherry's murder. As the case is transferred to the Unified Police Department, Pender decides to take a fresh approach. Sometimes, in cases like these, the only way forward is to think outside the box. Detective Pender knows that solving this case might require an entirely new strategy, one that hasn't been tried yet. The team is still committed to finding answers, but with the leads drying up, the future of the investigation feels uncertain. It's as if they've hit a brick wall, and with every passing day, the hope of finding Sherry's killer seems to slip further out of reach. But Pender remains determined. He knows that sometimes all it takes is turning over one more stone to uncover the truth. Breakthrough just when it seemed like the case would fade into obscurity, Detective Pender stumbled upon a new lead, an innovative technique called investigative genetic genealogy. Though he was familiar with genealogy, the concept of using it to solve crimes was new to him. However, he was determined to try everything he could. By submitting the suspect's DNA to genealogy databases, they hoped to uncover familial connections that could lead them to the killer. Weeks passed, and then the breakthrough came. A genealogist contacted Pender with news there was a match. The suspect's family was located in Sacramento, California. This was the break they'd been waiting for. Detective Pender traveled there, hoping to uncover more about the suspect's background and uncover the truth about what had happened to Sherry. The investigation had reignited, and for the first time in months, there was real hope of solving the case. Final justice, after tracking down the suspect's family and gathering more evidence, Detective Pender was able to identify the killer Adam Antonio Spencer Durborough. At the time of Sherry's murder, Adam was just 19 years old. Despite his relatively clean adult criminal record, his juvenile history revealed a pattern of violence. Authorities surveilled Adam for days before finally arresting him. When confronted, he immediately requested an attorney, but they had already obtained a warrant for his DNA, fingerprints, and photographs. The investigation team continued their relentless pursuit, determined to ensure justice for Sherry. In the end, Adam was arrested and brought to trial. During the sentencing, Sherry's family gathered at the courthouse, finally getting the closure they desperately needed. The judge sentenced Adam to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would pay for the brutal murder of Sherry Black. Justice had been served, but the pain of the loss would linger forever. The haunting murder of Sherry Black left her family devastated, and the investigation stalled. But thanks to relentless detective work and a groundbreaking breakthrough, justice was finally served. If you want more true crime stories like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss a moment of suspense. What do you think was the turning point in solving this case? Was it the DNA match or something else? Share your thoughts in the comments below! And don't miss our next video. He planned the perfect crime but forgot one thing. Coming soon!